Hello and welcome to poly-innovator. This is Dustin Miller, poly-innovator, and today is the review of CHOPcast EO during this content repurposing newsletter I do called the Poly Content Digest. Now, this series is kind of new for me. I've done some reviews in the past of various other tools, but this series itself is something new. I wanted to create a brand around this idea of content repurposing, and I've seen all these amazing tools over the course of the past few different years just pop up. Some of them have been around for longer, like CHOPcast and Repurposed, and other tools that are just popping up now. And so I wanted to give each tool its own highlight, and today we're chopping into the bits, chopping the content into bits, if you will, with CHOPcast EO, formerly known as Tribe Tactics, for those who have been around for a while.
Dustin Miller, poly-innovator.
Now, in this review, I want it to be very clear that I am trying to be impartial as much as possible. I have some connections with some CEOs in some places, and then I've used tools in the past when it was still kind of in beta and had issues. I want to make sure that these reviews are fresh. I'm looking at it where it is now, not based on any other factors. Just looking at the tool, seeing the pricing, seeing how the tool works, and just making sure I can create something that's useful for a lot of people. And so this is CHOPcast's review. Let's go over to the page. Now, this is their homepage a little bit, and one thing I just want to note right off the bat, because this is something that it made me feel just a little proud, was this little section here, turning podcasts into YouTube Shorts automatically. Now, when you're branding your hero section, it can be very difficult to decide what to put there. I've seen other tools and other sites for various different purposes market towards TikTok, maybe Reels, or maybe all three. And the fact that they chose to turn into podcasts and highlighted that into YouTube Shorts, I thought that was a particularly good choice, because a lot of people who are making podcasts are more focused on YouTube and then thinking of like Reels and TikToks as an afterthought, which is ironic because TikTok used to be the forethought, with the Shorts being the afterthought. But I think it's kind of changing in that dynamic, and they're updating their site to keep up with that kind of dynamic. I would honestly probably highlight this too, though, like have them both highlighted. That'd be kind of cool. Here's a good little screenshot before we get into the actual usage of the tool here. When you get into the editor, this is what it basically looks like. I wish the video was actually that small. You'll see in a moment that it's not quite that small on my screen for some reason. But a lot of really great information on here, and one thing I also just wanted to mention too is that they have a lot of great resources. So from this little build your own series, like episodic series, that kind of thing, they have a book as well that the founders have co-wrote, and they have a nice prolific blog and YouTube channel. So let's just kind of mention that. All right, we are here at the main screen, the main dashboard that you'll see. And it's kind of bland, it's like that, but it's probably going to fill up more and more as you get more videos here. These are the two videos that I have uploaded. They are the first two interviews that I had on the Polymath Polycast, and you can always just add a new one right here. You can upload, you can choose from your folder, and on top of that, if they say also you can upload from or pick from YouTube as well. I don't see the option for that particularly. Maybe that's something that might be coming down the line or something like that. Speaking of features, let's look at the pricing real quick as well, because that talks about some of the features. Now, I'm kind of going a different order than what the blog post version of this review is doing, but that's okay. One thing I want to mention is that each tool has different like upload limits and that kind of thing. I feel like the one on CHOPcast is a bit more giving, because they give you 60 minutes for just the smallest plan, and I think that's pretty nice considering that a lot of times it may not be as much. 5 gigs is pretty nice as well, considering that's about 2 videos, and if on average a lot of people's videos might be 30 minutes, you can at least get like 2 videos a month with this mini plan, which for a lot of people that might be all you need. And then if you even just go up to here, like 90-minute minutes is probably where I'm going to be at, because a lot of my interviews are about an hour and a half long. And then going back to here, if we were to view this video, this is where I was kind of getting at earlier when it came to like the video player, kind of taking up a lot of space. For some reason, it just fills up my screen when it could easily be just a bit smaller in the middle. I have to scroll down to see the clips down here. It is kind of nice though having the clips just all right there. I found that like these are all just automatically picked, and this particular video had a lot. The other one not so much, and that's something I kind of wanted to mention as well. I know I'm kind of steamrolling here. This video is more just so you can visually see the tool. The blog post itself is more where I go into detail about the review. This video only picked about 3 videos, and I made a couple other clips by accident when I was trying to mess around with it, and that's probably something to note too. Again, the titles are kind of just weird how it picks that. It might be just the transcription part of it too, just picking a phrase out of there. And so like if I were to pick this particular clip here, we can view it. And honestly, just ignore the bad graphics of my video. This was my first interview I did. I didn't quite know what to put in the background there, so just ignore that. That's on me. It's a pretty quick response when it comes to the text. I notice at some points it takes a minute to get some words here and there. I think in this particular clip, I had it set to just 2 words per line. That might have been the default, which I'm not quite sure why it's so low for a default. Like usually it's around 6 on average. One thing I want to mention, let's get into the editing portion as well, is the defaults. So it did remember the fact that I chose Open Sans, which I respect the fact that it remembered that. But I've had to go in here for each clip and change the particular font because I hate that like Times New Roman looking font. One thing I also want to mention too is when it comes to weird words like polymath or my name PolyInnovator, it doesn't necessarily pick it up very well. I had that issue where I had to change the name. That's not really on CHOPcast though. That's really because all transcription tools I've had that issue with. So I think it's across the board. Just sometimes weird words will be just not really picked up very well. So you will have to go in, usually change names, change words. Again, that's with all tools though. And it just really depends on like how often you have to do that per tool. So I think with this one, it was very minimal. Just wanted to mention it. Now, one thing in this editor I think is really interesting is this timeline view here at the bottom. So you get to see the waveform at the bottom, which is pretty nice because that way you can see when the highlights of like the excitement of the talk is there. It's not as easy to see in the recording, but on screen it's a little bit better. The other thing is that it also tracks each speaker. Now, not every tool does that, and I think that's pretty cool how it's picking up whenever someone else is speaking. So I believe, I don't know why it says speaker 3 instead of speaker 2, but okay. So right now he's talking, and in this interview, Dale ends up talking a lot more. That's generally how I do a lot of my interviews anyways. I prompt people, I want to get them talking, and so this is probably a really great ratio of showing I talk to get someone started, maybe at a point here and there, which is why you might see something like this where I'm adding my own detail. But for the most part, I want my guests to shine. I should probably pause this. I want my guests to shine when it comes to the show, and being able to see that visually, not only is that helpful to just know where I need to be looking, but it's also helpful to know that like, okay, even in my first interview, that ratio was right there. Now, actually, I haven't really messed with these 2 buttons just yet. Topics wise, I don't really know what this does, to be honest. It's not really explained very well, and I think it's supposed to be like highlighting different topics throughout the show, but it's just not really propagating there. Perhaps this got added after I uploaded this video, because this was my first video I uploaded a little while back. So that's why I uploaded the second one to see what changes. Let's go ahead and just check that out real quick. We'll explore together. All right, so we are back on this different video here. Let it load up for just a second there. And you can see how it has that like more the serif font. So I can change that to something more along the lines of Open Sans. Whatever, we'll just go italic. Now, this is the full video clip, and in this particular one, it is weird, again, how it's doing the speakers. That might be something that the tech team needs to look at there, because it's one of those things where like I don't have 3 speakers, so I don't know why I'm saying that. Let's go to the topics like we were looking at the other one. So in this one, it doesn't really have any topics. It just, yeah, that's probably just something I'll come later. Search, let's search for polymath and see if that comes up. It did highlight a few different sections here, so let's check this out right here.
This principle of having an integrated framework of many things, rather than
Hold on.
process. We're going to create.
I'm curious because
The thing that interested me when I originally came across you is my idea of polymath is the principle of having.
So the actual timing of when this clip starts, or this particular idea starts, is a little bit farther behind, because I think I asked him my general question that I ask every guest: what is a polymath to you? And I think I must have said that word a little bit sooner, so I'm surprised it's not coming up. Maybe I'm also getting it wrong. Maybe he brought it up and I ask it here, which is why there's two next to each other. That is really, honestly, like, this is my genuine response. I'm actually really excited about that, because sometimes when I'm making the videos, not sometimes, I always make timestamps, but the timestamps are generally pretty like just every 5 minutes or so, unless there's a specific topic that I know starts at like 3:56 or something like that. And so being able to find certain words like polymath or whatever particular subject I want to make clips about, that might be a really handy tool in order to do that in the future. So the fact that it was able to find polymath, let alone pretty quickly too, I don't know if you guys noticed there, it didn't take any time to load that in. That's something I think is cool, and yeah, I just want to mention that. Filters. Not really sure what to filter out. So at that point, I just wanted to show you those little features that I didn't necessarily mess with very much. One thing I want to mention is that this looks fine right now, but sometimes when I'm switching screens and then bringing it back, it'll have some issues when it comes to the allocation of where things are at. Like, I didn't do anything there and it's doing this. A little okay, it did fix itself. It took a moment, but it did fix itself. I'm just mentioning that I had that experience, so in case you are doing the same thing and you end up switching monitors for some reason and you're worried about why that's happening, it either self-fixes or a quick little refresh will fix it, and eventually I think the responsiveness is going to be even quicker. So don't worry about that. And one thing I will mention too that I came across is this little text box. It is isolated on its own. It's its own element, I think. And so when I was moving around the video player, this also got moved out of place at one point. Again, with a refresh, that'll fix it. So I just want to make sure you guys understand. Not a really huge deal. It looks like a huge deal when you're first like using the tool and you're like, oh, what's going on? That kind of thing. One thing that's kind of nice is you can reframe it. I don't really ever use the square stuff, so I'm just going to skip to the 9:16. The fit is a little bit weird because of how my video is. So if it was just a talking head, like if I just did this kind of video where I'm a talking head, I'm honestly not even centered myself because I'm looking at this screen over here. But if I was centered talking to you, it would frame me out about right here. In a moment once it loads in, but that's essentially what you would see, which is perfect for a TikTok. And if you're trying to, like, if you have a long form talking head video, you could frame a TikTok pretty easily. So let me switch back over here. This is what it picked out here. You can see how the text is off to the side. They'll probably fix that after seeing this video, but it's one of those things where it fit in the middle. Now I wonder if I could just add some text here. What we can do to kind of just change this background up here. Okay, I can't correct. Let's see if I can click. Cool. Oh, it looks even better too when it's over here. Let's edit this. I didn't mean to delete that. So you're experiencing this with me live. I didn't really mess with it too much when it came to some of these other features. Let's say the polymath, POLYCASTS. Oh. Now, is there a way to center it? Okay. One thing I'll note, CHOPcast guys, I would love to see a line right there to tell me where the center is. I think I got it pretty centered, and honestly, that looks kind of nice. Oh, we definitely need to fix this. So by clicking it, should give me... Okay, maybe I have to go back to subtitles, because the text is way too small on that particular screen. Which, I mean, when you actually render this, it'll probably be readable, but it's pretty small on here. It doesn't really need to be that small since I'm doing a video like that. Let's do 24. Okay, and this one didn't seem to save my font. Unless I might have changed the font on a particular clip, not the whole video. So I'm wondering if I do the whole video and change the font there, it'll trickle down to the clips, but it can't necessarily go the other way. So now, like, we have a decently looking good clip here. This is for the full video though, so let's see.
Hello and welcome to PolyInnovator. Whether you
Okay, cool.
join on the PolyCast.
Let's see. Maybe let's try 3 words per line. And I figured these little experimental moments here will probably be good for people to see. It's probably reloading the player because I changed the words per line, which is a pretty big factor when it comes to rendering that out. Let's do a quick refresh, like I said. Now, I'm not cutting this out because I want people to see it in real time. It has the spot here. Give it a moment. The one thing that I realize is too, my video is an hour long, so that might be making a difference there. This is not the size that I chose. Okay, interestingly enough, when I chose the words per line, it reset it back to a 16:9 ratio. I do kind of like where I allocated the text box though. Well, this is a good opportunity to show you the other side, the crop, which honestly like probably looks a little bit better. The fit just fits the horizontal video in the middle there, which is probably fine if I had made my original video a little bit better, not have like such big black or gray box with text on the top there, and like some of my later videos will probably do better with that particular format because the videos are bigger in some of my later renditions of the POLYCAST. But okay, let me focus on this here. Since it is not that way, I think that doing a 9:16 is probably not the best for my particular interview style videos. If my video was switching between talkers, then it would be fine. But since I have them side by side, this particular feature is probably not the most key. But what I might do is use CHOPcast to find the clips, because I honestly have that issue, and probably transcribing as well. And by finding the clips, then I can take that horizontal video and use like cross clip or something like that to put them on top of each other.
Hello and welcome to...
Okay, so this looks weird. I get that. Hold on a second. The reason why it looks weird is because I have it as the crop. So like I mentioned earlier, when it comes to how you're framed, if I'm framed like this and we crop it just in the middle, I'm just in the shot. But if you have a person here and a person here and you're just going in the middle, that's where it's framing. So that's not on CHOPcast, that's where, because of how I framed my video when it comes to the design of that video. So if I go back to fit and apply, it goes to here. We definitely need to fix this text because this text is, okay, good. Just by clicking it, it fixed it. This moved. Oh, okay, so the line is there. So I was telling this tech earlier to do that. I guess the line, oh, okay, good. So, I mean, honestly, if I made a clip like this and just chose one of the clips I had at the bottom here for this would actually look good on its own. Yes, it's not the most ideal for the size of the people, but that's because of how I framed my video. And so, honestly, this is kind of nice. I just wanted to give you guys my real reaction to that because I had messed around with it before, but not necessarily in this deeply of a manner. Now, when it comes to the rest of this review, I am reviewing CHOPcast.io today because I wanted to give everybody an experience of what it looks like on the back end, and that way people can actually see beyond than what their YouTube channel shows how am I experiencing this tool, and allowing people to actually get a feeling of the pros and the cons. So for example, we talked about the pricing in this video today. Pricing's pretty good. I want to give them props for that. There are maybe some issues when it comes to like the length of your video, like maybe you have 2-hour-long videos, and so you can't necessarily do the 90-minute limit, but you don't necessarily need the other features of the bigger plans. Those are kind of weird situations when it comes to different tools. The web design and UI of this particular tool is honestly pretty modern. They've really worked hard on the usability of the site and making sure it's very clean and organized. There's tons and tons and tons of educational resources, including courses and different book even, and different YouTube videos and blog posts. And honestly, on top of that, the way their timeline is set up in the editor is very just unique to what they do and makes it really useful. One thing else to really keep in mind though, some cons, there's no brand kits. And so I can't tell them that I only want to use this font each time, like when it comes to Open Sans for me. There's no way to like automatically input your colors when it comes to your choice of like how I want different colors to be. And then on top of that, the video player can sometimes mess up on certain parts of the video. Those are just some quick pros and cons. I definitely encourage you to read the blog post review of this particular tool. And honestly, when it comes to my experience, I've seen this tool evolve from Tribe Tactics to CHOPcast, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'm hoping that over time, some of those little issues that I was facing when it comes to like the usability or scaling, those will get kinked out. I know the team is working really hard at getting that done though. So honestly, I think the tribe over at CHOPcast has a good thing going for them, and the way they're going about this particular tool is evolving on its own pace. And as more information arises and I use this tool more often as well, I will be coming back to this post and adding any pros and cons that I might come across, or when I get more used to doing these reviews and I create a more refined reviewing system when it comes to the process of does it meet these criteria, then I'll come back and reevaluate this tool using that new criteria, and I'll put it into this post. Other than that, thank you for joining me, thank you for listening, and go read that blog post. Bye.